My Lords, I worry that this group of amendments indicates that in the name of public health, state overreach can get completely carried away with itself. And I would ask that we take a step back and consider whether the state's ability to interfere in the manufacture and R&D of legal products, which, by the way, is completely disruptive to the manufacture of those products and to the whole issue of product design. If the state's going to do that, there needs to be an absolutely very good reason. So I want to just look at some of the reasons we've heard in relation, for example, to the either the ban or the alteration of the use of filters. There seems to be some confusion as to whether this is an environmentalist issue or a public health issue. I mean, if it's litter or if it's plastic, or what is it? So this is a debate about tobacco and vaping, so let me just concentrate on that. This idea that 1 in 4 adults don't know that filters aren't healthy. I have to say that as a long-standing smoker, there are arguments about filters, but I have never ever heard a smoker say, I use the filter because they're healthy. There's a whole range of discussions about the use of filters.
I think the noble lady has been way, but just for correction to make sure if I wasn't clear, actually it's 75% of smokers who don't know that filters don't have any health benefits.
Yes.
The stat's the other way around.
The point I'm making is that it is true that the majority of smokers do not sit around and discuss whether filters have a benefit in relation to health. I'm quite sure if you asked me in that survey, I wouldn't have had a clue. And then you could say that I was being conned into using filter, whereas actually I would be indifferent, because that's not the basis on which people smoke, either with or without filters. I particularly was bemused by the idea that as a woman, if I saw a white filter, I'd immediately think purity and be forced to smoke a filtered white. I mean, goodness me, apparently you're one man. I also wanted to talk about the idea of health warnings on actual cigarettes. That this, which again would be completely destructive of product design and so on, and I feel as though completely petty. I do feel sometimes that the public health people have kind of done everything and anything they possibly can and have run out of things to do. So we're down to the narrowest possible thing now, which is the actual cigarette itself. And I think it's particularly interesting, the idea that this is aimed especially at young people who at parties might be given 1 cigarette, and if they only saw that written warning, I think that would be enough to stop them. I mean, were we ever young? Were we ever at a party? And did we ever read anything on the side of a cigarette or not? I mean, the point I'm making is that, as it happens, the majority of young people do know that smoking is bad for you. Many young people give adults like me lectures on how smoking is bad for you. The idea of a written warning I don't think is very helpful. But anyway, I just wonder what the health warning would say. You know, tobacco kills you. I mean, what is it it's going to say? But I've got an idea, I've had an idea. Because actually, public perceptions of the difference between smoking and vaping are at their all-time worst. Only a minority, 29% of current adult smokers, are able to accurately recognise that vaping is less harmful than smoking. So I've had an idea. Maybe on the side of these individual cigarettes, if we're going to have a message, we could say, vaping is cheaper and less harmful than smoking. That's a good message. Why don't we do that? Or we could even say vaping is good for you. The point I'm making is that's not where we should be putting messages. There's confused messages in this committee that we've heard so far. And then my final thought is the success of Canada and Australia on dealing with smoking has been cited or kind of thrown into the conversation. But actually, if we actually look at what's happening and front page headlines actually in Australia today, but anyway, the success of Canada and Australia has been the huge growth of a black market in cigarettes and vapes. It's a disaster, and many people in public health are now saying maybe we went too far. So before we start emulating them, maybe we should take different lessons. Look at the front page of Australian newspaper The Age today on the fact that people are panicking about what they've inadvertently done, and this group of amendments is the kind of thing that could lead us into completely the wrong direction.
I rise to speak to Amendment 34, which is in my name, and also that of the Noble Lord.